Welcome to Team More Wine, sir, the Game of Thrones Gorilla Cast for Boomtron's Optionated. I'm Elena, with me is Rachel, and we're here today to talk about the latest episode. So crack open a bottle like we just did, and sit back and listen in while we ramble and curse our way through a dissection of the episode. Episode 6, The Old Gods and the New. I'm going to start off by throwing this to Rachel, because you had a lot of reactions about the ending and the what the fuck are you changing the book for, what's going on, so I'll let you rant.
Well, it wasn't like, what the fuck are you changing the book for? I know why they're changing it, and I'm actually okay with all the changes that they've made, which there are significant, and there are a lot in this episode. But I wasn't prepared for it because, I've been sitting there smugly watching, knowing everything that's going to happen, and for the first time ever, I was sitting on the edge of my seat watching, not knowing what was going to fucking happen because every scene was different. So for me, it was actually exciting in a way that the show has never been for me before.
Because it's like reading the books all over again because you don't know.
Yeah, so I definitely had a lot of like, oh my god, what the fuck kind of moments, especially the very end. I mean, I kind of just threw my hands in the air like, what is happening?
Very end being Dany's dragons getting kidnapped?
Yes.
Okay. Well, do we want to start with that?
Sure. Her dragons don't get kidnapped in the book. Don't know what else to say about that. So I have no fucking clue what they're doing.
Well, from a narrative sense, if all Dany does for this book is wander around Karth being wined and dined and not having her ambitions to find a ship met because, hey, entitled princess, welcome to capitalism. We have standards and collateral and banking rules and no. So if that's her arc in this book, I can see why they wanted to spice it up a little.
Yes.
And I will say it did feel a little bit TV dramatic to me, but at the same time it also felt completely natural in the sense that she's wandering around the city and she doesn't have a lot of people. Everyone knows she has dragons. Why wouldn't they take her out of her room, slaughter her guards, and kidnap her dragons?
Right, exactly.
Why wouldn't they?
In the book, it's more, she kind of expects, she has that Targaryen arrogance where she expects people to give her what she wants, what she demands. And it doesn't work, and she doesn't have any money. So what she does is she receives people, and they bring her gifts. And in that way, she starts to build up a very modest kind of holding, right? Because people want to see the dragons, and so that's the price of admission to come see the mother of dragons. She's clearly not doing that in the show. She's just wandering around yelling at people like, "You will give me a ship," and they're like, "Why the fuck would I do that, dude?" Like,
yeah,
you got nothing. You've got dragons. Why don't you give me a dragon? And I think, she's never, ever, ever going to say, oh, sure, I'll give you a dragon in exchange for a ship. Because they're children.
Exactly. No, I agree. I just feel like I think they did want to make her story a little more dramatic and give her more chances to throw fits, but I kind of feel like it's devaluing her fit throwing because she does it too much.
I just take that as part of her Targaryen-ness. She's not that different from her brother. She just has better advisors, maybe?
Maybe. And that's starting to come through, and I don't know how I feel about that, because I liked her a little better when she wasn't just pitching a fit every time she didn't get her way, but actually trying to be logical and think things through. And
Right.
Yeah, act normal, basically.
Yeah, in the book she comes off as, like, less violent. She's very gentle, and she cares for her slaves, and she cries for them. And speaking of, Irri died. They killed her, which is weird because in the books, Doria is dead and Irri is alive. So now it's kind of switched. Guess they wanted to get rid of actually, one of the things I saw on Tumblr, people are really mad that Irri is dead specifically because she was the one handmaiden of color. And they killed her and got rid of her, and now she's got her white, actress from L.A. handmaiden. So people are mad about that, and I can understand why. Yeah,
especially because, at least right now, kill one if you need to have that dramatic moment, but why make it her?
Yeah.
If it's just one last of her ties to Khal Drogo getting cut, those are already pretty tenuous.
Mm-hmm. Poor thing. And the way that the dragon sort of cried at the end, that was great. I got chills.
Yeah, they sounded like babies.
Yeah, crying
Mommy!
babies.
Mommy! Well, I kind of feel like that wizard or sorcerer or whatever he was that is taking him up to his tower is kind of in for a world of pain. It's gonna be like his house will be taken over by this poltergeist of, dragon children that won't eat and they shit on everything and they fully understand that he's not their mother and that they are not supposed to be with him. I feel like there's going to be a great comedic element to the next episode.
Yeah, I mean, they're not dogs. You can't train them, right? There's something there. I think that they feel that she is their mother, and that is why they respect her. It's not because they're babies, and whoever raises them, will get their loyalty.
Right.
Hopefully not. I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, is she even going to get them back this season? I have no clue. No clue.
Yeah. I mean, it is a while before the dragons have any narrative pertinence other than getting her entree somewhere or...
Right. They need to be big enough to, fly around and kill things.
Exactly. And they're not there yet.
So let's go back, to more changes. How about... What did you think of the opening with the taking of Winterfell?
Oh man, what an asshole, Theon. Just making your face the first thing Bran has to see when he wakes up in the morning, and B, waking him from his bed and be like, hey, I just took your castle, asshole.
Yeah, but props to Bran for kind of deadpanning,
yeah.
Hey, Theon.
Oh, it's you. I was expecting this.
I had this dream. This is not news to me.
Yeah. But I thought that whole sequence was, well, the entire series of events with Winterfell is basically proving that Theon is neither Stark nor Greyjoy, and I don't feel like he has very much longer to live.
Yeah, it is kind of sad to see him flounder so obviously.
Yeah. I mean, he is basically trying to be a Greyjoy, but he doesn't know how, and then
exactly.
what little Stark training he has was the wrong Stark training. I mean, obviously Eddard never showed him how to cleave a head in one stroke, and when he didn't immediately pick up on the fact that that everyone at Winterfell watching expected him to kill the person, he said, okay, he needs to die himself, and his guard had to... Or not his guard, but who was it? Was it Bran that taunted him, or one of the?
Well, I think it was. Oh yeah, because his little minion guy is the cleft jaw.
Yeah.
But
or was it even Sir Roderick himself? Is like, you need to kill me yourself.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh wait, that is what the Lords of Winterfell do. Shit.
Well, he didn't want to do it. I mean, this is a man who also taught him. Like, when Robb and Jon and all of them were learning the sword, Sir Roderick was teaching Theon too.
Yeah. It's like his uncle.
Yeah, Theon's such a good shot with the bow and arrow that we learned from the last season. It was probably Sir Roderick that taught him that.
Yeah, that's a good reminder that it's not just killing someone for the first time, or maybe not the first time, but executing someone for the first time, but also that it's someone you respected and trained with that you've completely betrayed. And it's kind of, I just felt so sorry for him that he didn't either have the impetus to understand that if he's going to take that role and be the conqueror, he needs to do it right and do it in a way that the people of Winterfell will loathe but also respect, which is just to be total balls to the wall hardcore, or to say, no, I don't care if Iron Islanders kill everybody. I have a bigger game in mind, and this man is too valuable to kill.
Well, right. He let himself be bullied, but
yeah,
that was actually a really powerful scene. They actually condensed two scenes into one, which I was totally fine with. They've been doing that a lot in the series, and it moves things along, faster, and it gets to the same conclusion. Mm-hmm. So I was totally fine with it. And I thought that Bran, in his frustration at not being able to do something, which had nothing really to do with him being handicapped, but just him being a small boy with no troops. And his only ally is Maester Luwin, who is himself a very old man who can't really do anything.
Right.
It's kind of sad that I mean, you do blame Rob a little bit for clearing out and not leaving anybody home that can actually take care of them.
Well, but at the same time, they sent the troops that they had away. I mean, Rob didn't necessarily leave Winterfell undefended.
Right.
He left it undefended in the sense that if something were to take any of those guards away, it is then defenseless.
No, I get that. I think they said like 100 men or not even.
Something like that.
Yeah, you wonder if that would have been enough. Maybe it would have been. I mean, it is easier to take a castle. You wonder how the hell Theon got in, right? They didn't actually go through that, but in the book,
just said grappling hooks over the wall.
Or well, and I think also in the book, and I might be wrong on this, but he used his whole cred as, "Hi, I'm Theon, let me in."
Oh shit! See, that would be even worse. And the fact that they said grappling hooks tried to make it seem like, or maybe he just said that, tried to make him seem like he actually took the place by force, because it kind of sounds like he was a total Trojan horse and was just like, hey, what's up, y'all? I'm back. Oh,
yeah.
These nights, they're going to kill anybody that defies me. I'm now Lord of Winterfell. Like,
right.
If they actually did scale the walls, that kind of legitimizes it in a weird way.
Yeah, no, yeah, because it's like, okay, you won. Like, you did it the hard way, so you win, even though you're a jerk.
Right. You didn't betray our trust. You just betrayed our shitty defenses that you actually know about, but you know what? So you were a spy. Fine.
Yeah, I haven't read that scene in a really long time, but I feel like in the initially when Theon gets there, he does walk straight in. He doesn't bring all of his men with him, of course, because that would be very suspicious. So
right.
At some point, people were coming over the walls, but I think when Theon got there, he walked in on his, just kind of like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, well, he's a fucking Theta Chi. That's what they do. Like, gives a secret handshake, gets in the door, and then, like, all his buddies watching in the woods saw it, and now they can get in, too. Yeah.
Right.
All
right. Well, okay, let's move on to yet another change. Littlefinger being at Harrenhal.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen. What'd you think?
Littlefinger is his own best prostitute. Because, wow, does that man get around. He does.
He just gets around. How the fuck did he get all the way to Harrenhal that quickly?
That fast. Exactly. It's another time warp. But yeah, that was what I thought. I was like, he just whores himself to anything. And he was very good at not noticing. Because I couldn't believe, like, at first I actually thought they were going to play the whole scene where Arya thought she got away with him not recognizing her.
And then he, like, comes out. And
because he, like, saw it immediately and was like, I'm just not even going to acknowledge her.
Uh-huh.
But then when he actually does that look twice, I was like, man, y'all are being, why do you have to make it so obvious with him? You know he saw her.
Yeah.
He notices everything. You didn't need to have that moment where he's, like, looking at it and almost betraying it to Tywin.
Well, it's a weird thing, too, because let's say I agree with you. I think he does recognize her and chooses not to.
Mm-hmm.
But why would he choose not to? Because Tywin is his ally.
Mm-hmm.
So if he said, hey, Tywin, that right there is the Stark girl, I mean, that's just, they're looking for her. They need her. They want to get Jaime back. They don't, they have no way of proving that they have Arya.
Right.
You'd think that he would be like, oh, can I just, we need her, actually. Let's grab her.
Well, just pursuant to the continuing narrative of whose side is Littlefinger really on, I don't know that he's actually Tywin's ally or if he's just playing him. And if he's playing him, I think one thing that Littlefinger loves is to know more than other people. And so he's like, right now, I know something that he doesn't know, and that could be extremely valuable for me to know this later.
Truth.
So that's what I think. But at the same time, the scene went black. We don't know what they talked about. He could have told Tywin off camera, and
yeah, they've changed so much at this point that he could have.
So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen. And that's actually exciting for me because I know what should happen and I know what probably can't happen. Although I would say Dany's dragons being stolen can't happen, and yet it did.
Right.
So, I guess everything is Who the hell knows at this point? I'm definitely gonna be biting my nails next week. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the charming thing for me is I can still be surprised when I read the book and be like, whoa, is this
Right. I mean, like,
is this the same story?
yeah, and sometimes they change, like, really small things. Like, the people that Arya has been asking Jaqen to kill for her are not the same people. But it doesn't really matter because it serves the same purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And obviously it's characters that were equally irrelevant to the sort of main players on the stage.
right, exactly. It's just, like, side characters. We don't need 10 side characters. We only need these 2. And although I really liked with Amory Lorch, that was really funny.
Is this the
guy that she ran to Jaqen? She's like, kill him now.
He's going to Lord Tywin. You have to make it now. Yeah, I took that scene to be that Jaqen Hagar is in a weirdly non-sexual way in love with Arya, and he's like, I'll make this happen for her. Because, he didn't have to. She'd given him the name, and he was going on about the whole, when it's time. But then he was like, no, she's desperate, and I'll do this. And he did. And so...
No, it was pretty good, though. She's like, yeah, okay, him. He's like, all right, I'll do it later. She's like, no, now.
Yeah. No, Arya is pretty awesome. She's definitely learning... Well, she showed her colors as being brought up as a lady in a noble house, that she actually does have that imperiousness. No, I expect it to be done now. And that there have been people in her life that have had to listen to her, and so that's probably why she's very good at that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And it was funny though, he just falls when he opens the door. And it was weird for me that they actually did it by, like, the little blow dart. Mm-hmm. Because I would expect Jaqen to kill people in ways that you would have, like, no, but I mean, this is hasty, so.
Right, and the thing with the first guy, somebody that I work with thought that ending was actually more what the fuck than Shadow Baby, because you didn't know how that guy had died. All of a sudden, he was just lying there dead, and there was no obvious trauma. So I think the fact that they put the blow dart in was very much to show this was done in haste. It couldn't have the meticulous planning that he likes to use.
Yeah, right. I actually thought that he had pushed the first guy from up top.
Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he did hit him with a blow dart, I mean, he's not from Westeros, so it's an exotic way of killing people.
Yes. His tree jungle.
Speaking of exotic... How do you like the exotic egret?
Oh my god.
New favorite character?
Possibly. That was so funny. And I don't even know where to start with this. Okay, first of all, what the fuck is wrong with Half-Hand and all the other Night's Watchmen that he was with? This is his first time away from the Wall, and he's only been at the Wall, 6 months, possibly a year at this point. It's not like he has been battle-hardened. Even if he's killed someone, especially if it's like a White Walker that's a monster anyway, he's not really to the point they are where he knows and understands even female wildlings are dangerous.
Yeah, he's gonna kill a pretty girl.
A pretty young woman. They couldn't possibly have expected him to actually kill her. And if they did, the more fooled they. Because a young man who's not actually seen a woman like her, slit his friend's throat, just for fun, isn't going to believe it. He's not going to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't really believe that they actually left him to do that.
Yeah, that was, and also, yet again, a weird little change that they did in the setup and in what happens. Mm-hmm. Some of the order was changed, blah, 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 whatever. So yeah, that wasn't so plausible. But
and unless they kind of figured he wouldn't, kill her. And the thing is, there's no good reason for them to do that, because the Night's Watch doesn't casually let the idiots run out in the wild and die. There's a reason Samwell Tarly was not made into a ranger, because they're like, we have to use every man that we have to the best of their ability. So it's not like they were just going to be like, whatever, Jon Snow can let her escape and then have to go chase her down and get lost in the wilderness and die. They didn't want that to happen.
Yeah,
so,
unless they thought that maybe and like, cause Corin is not a fool, so maybe the plan is, well, he'll probably let her go, 50-50 chance. If she leaves, then we'll just follow her because she's gonna go straight to her allies, and maybe, they're on like this mission. But if she got there before and she warned them that there were Black Brothers beyond the wall, then that could also fuck things up. It's a toss up about whether or not the writers were kind of like, we'll go with it.
Yeah. But oh my god! But yeah, the second he he went and like spooned her, I was like, okay, this is not going to go well for him.
I'm just trying to get comfortable.
Oh, was I moving again? I didn't even notice that time. And
it's hilarious too because it's like so not sexy because they're wearing like 10 pounds of fur.
Yeah. And that ground is icy cold, and but at the same, they probably stink to high hell, because when was the last time either of them took enough off to like even have a snow
that they chose to lay in the open air on the edge when they could have gone into the cave,
right?
And like
that, it was a little nonsensical, but
Jon Snow doesn't know where to put it. He doesn't know where to be. He just doesn't know.
Basically, but now he knows. Well, at least he knows what it feels like to have something against his.
There's a really great thing on Tumblr. There's a really great little meme on Tumblr where it's like Jon Snow's like, stop doing that, and then Ygritte's like, oh, I'm just trying to get comfortable, and then it's like ... like halfway down the page, and then Ygritte says, against your penis. It's like, thanks for spelling that out, Ygritte.
Well,
but yeah, they did call him stupid a lot. I was like, you guys stop calling him stupid. He's not.
I know he's not. He's a little bit naive still, and he's never been out there before. He's ignorant. It's ignorant.
Yeah. I thought it would have been hilarious had Ygritte been taunting him, and then like Ghost shows up, and then he's like, I'll just cuddle him. You can be cold.
Yeah. Well, I was totally expecting Ghost to jump in and kill her. I mean, isn't that what Ghost is for?
But Ghost is off getting his food, being not a pet, right?
Yeah.
I was like, shut up, Corin. You don't know what you're talking about. It's like, that's not a pet. It's like, really? Because he's my pet.
And see, I think Jon Snow was like, he's my familiar. It's better than a pet.
Yeah, right? It's like, I'm Stark. I got powers, Maybe you can't order a Ghost around, but I can. Except for when Ghost clearly doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. Well, Ghost is going feral up there beyond the wall.
He just needs food. I mean, I'm sure they're not feeding him.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm just thinking here with when they were camping at Craster's and he's going after Gilly's meat. I mean, Ghost never did that kind of shit back at Winterfell. He knew better.
Yeah, John's being a bad owner. He needs to feed his dog.
Yeah, that's true.
Guess he figures he'll do it on his own.
Well, what's it? Exercise, discipline, and affection. I think Jon Snow is a little bit lacking in the discipline right now.
Yeah. Well, so what? So Ghost is doing the equivalent of getting up on the couch.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the end of all of the crazy stuff that happens. We go back to King's Landing after that, and the riots after Myrcella is sent to Dorne.
Yeah, that was intense.
Yeah, some more implausible stuff like the taking them off horses and putting them on foot, which is just like would never happen. There's just no way nobility would be walking on their feet through the grungiest part of town. But okay, fine. Horses aren't cheap, and during riots they can freak out, and it's easier to film people when they're on the ground. So
yes,
we'll accept it.
And it's probably easier to stretch your extra budget when you don't have the horse's eye view that shows they're only 5 deep instead of 10.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It reiterates what a fuckball Joffrey is.
Oh yeah, he's such an idiot.
Just the one response that you don't give when there's a riot on your hands is kill them all.
Yeah, right? Because that's not going to help you. They're not going to be like, oh, really? Kill us?
I mean, going back to the whole functionally retarded, I'm beginning to think he actually is. His mother, Jerry's still out. She could just,
She got appropriately scared.
Yeah, she was, and she was hustling the hell out of there, and she was cowering behind her guards, and she was not saying anything. She was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And he was like, he couldn't even do the basic arithmetic of, we have 20 guards with this, and there's 2,000 of them.
Yeah. And Tyrion's the only one thinking of everyone else. He sent Tommen back into the keep to keep him safe. He was asking where Sansa was.
Exactly.
Tyrion, man, he's just, once again, he's the Avatar. He's the author's Avatar, the only one with a conscience.
Mm-hmm. He proves that he's the only, responsible adult in that family.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know about Jaime, but at least it's in King's Landing. He's the only responsible adult among the Lannisters. And Joffrey's coldness when he was like, you have to send someone out to find her, and he just like turns away. Like, what a fucking asshole. I mean, he has his mother's lack of foresight and, Mad King Aerys' lack of understanding of the world.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the shittiest king ever, basically.
Yeah, I don't even know if he, I feel like the Mad King, and I think this is a great point that Tyrion made. He's like, we had a Mad King who was a freak who was torturing people, and yeah, he was killed at the end, but not by his subjects. It's not like the peasants came into the castle and killed him. Mm-hmm. They were probably okay with him because as long as they're not starving to death, they're okay.
Yeah, he was cruel but not stupid. We've had cruel kings and stupid kings, but never had someone who's cruel and stupid.
Right. And Joffrey doesn't seem, it's like and Tyrion reminded him, they're starving to death because of this war. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it didn't even faze him. He didn't even care. That's not something that, the peasant, he doesn't understand that he needs people to stand on in order to be a king.
Yeah. Well, I think it would have been a better joke for Tyrion to point out that his uncle Jaime killed the last king.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was going to go over very well in that moment. I don't think that was going to register.
No, but the whole my hand did not fall off. That was pretty good.
Oh, God. And just, he's the only one who ever slaps that.
I know, it just needs to do it every episode.
In the face. Just keep slapping him. Just every time he opens his mouth, just slap him in the face. Like, but... Can we talk about how epic it was that the hounds went and rescued Sansa?
Yeah.
Because that was beautiful. And I actually thought that she was about to, I don't know, not die. I don't think she's going to die anytime soon, but I thought she was about to get very tragically violated. And then all of a sudden, there's entrails falling at her feet. And you're like, hound! Yes!
Yes. Did you feel a little bit of that sand magic? Did you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just like, why the hell is he there? How did he magically know where to find her? When did he leave to go after her? Because last I saw, he was with Joffrey, and Joffrey was telling Tyrion, don't bother to send anyone for her. And then he's there, like, taking heads and guts and, splashing blood and saying, there, little bird, you're safe now. And then he, like, picks her up and just carries her out of there. He's like, just... hang out on my shoulder. I gotta carry my sword. Well,
because her being on the ground, no, he'll just put her on his shoulder and just wade through the crowd. She doesn't need to be walking anymore.
Yeah.
No, poor Sansa. I think she's definitely. This is when you start to, in the books at least, really pity her. She has no control over anything, and she really is at the mercy of the kindnesses of people whose goodwill she hasn't really been cultivating.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that the Hound basically, saved her life. Let's just put that out there. He saved her life. Because if she had been raped, they would have killed her eventually. Yeah. Did she really deserve that from him? No, but he kind of feels sorry for her because she's so pathetic. Mm-hmm. So now she owes the Hound.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We don't know that the Hound is the Hound such an asshole that he couldn't possibly have, like, regardless of him feeling so sorry for her, but, in a personal way, but just him feeling like some pity or responsibility for any sort of noble young woman who was left behind in that situation enough to go back for her.
Well,
or
in the
was it
books, there are
specific
other
to
young women
Sansa?
left behind.
Mm-hmm. So it is clear that it's specific to her.
Yes. There's another woman that's left behind that is raped, and they actually do find her again later and bring her back to her mother, but she's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
By that point. But she, I don't know. It's weird because a lot of people, and this is where I hesitate to say that the Hound has any nobility or sense of justice in like, oh, I will go save the girl because she is young and innocent kind of thing. I don't know, because he is kind of, people forget this guy kills children because Theon told him, or not Theon, Joffrey told him to.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's so special about Sansa? Is she like that extra pathetic that he pities her in that way? Does he? They did take away at the beginning in the tourney in last season when Peter tells her the story of the Hound and how he is burned. Yeah,
and then the Hound gets real drunk and ends up escorting her back and tells her his sort of tragic side of things.
Right. In the books, it's the Hound who tells her this.
Right. So
there is that connection where he's opened up to her, and so people are saying, oh, well, she's like this one light spot, and she's the one clean thing in all of King's Landing, and he wants to keep her that way or whatever. And it's very romantic, but at the same, you can't forget that this guy's like a psycho.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only out-psychoed by his even more psycho brother.
And King.
Yeah, and the King. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to be like, yay, San. It's definitely a problematic pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's nice to have the Phantom of the Opera come and save Christine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was definitely welcome this time, and I actually thought that Sansa had a pretty profound reaction to it, and just her kind of sitting there thinking she's actually thinking through what those people are feeling and thinking, and she's trying to figure out, why would they want to kill me? Why would they want to hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done anything to them. I know they're starving, but if I had bread, I would give it to them. And she's like, basically, I'm not a bad person, so why do they want to hurt me? And she's,
right.
Even if she can't get there without Shay pointing out that it's not about you, it's about what you symbolize. It's about what you are, not who
right.
you are. Even if she can't quite get there, she's at least trying. And so...
Well, right, and she's still 14.
Right.
You gotta give her a break, I guess.
Well, no, I mean, I think her reaction was actually much more mature than it could have been. She wasn't sitting there just like whining about what had happened to her or how traumatized she was. She was actually sitting there trying to empathize with them and understand why they were trying to do that to her.
Yeah, no, I agree. She's definitely learning that life is definitely hard, and she's gonna. If you play by the rules, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll come out on top.
Yeah, just because you play by the rules doesn't mean life does, doesn't mean everyone around you does.
Right. Speaking of playing by the rules, or
yes.
not, I saw Tonks's vagina.
Yeah, we all saw Tonks's vagina.
I'm just really disturbed by that.
Well,
I was like, no, put your clothes back on, Tonks. This is not okay.
I'd sent a new Tumblr. Tonks, put your cloak back on.
Becomes like a thing. Who's she gonna? She was taking it off for everybody.
Well, okay. Did that more or less square with what happened in the book? Like the events that happened with her?
More or less, other than her having sex with Theon.
Okay. Which really I don't see why she actually needed to do in order to like convince the guard that Theon had sent her out there.
I know, right? She could have just done that.
Him. She could have just done that. But
they needed some naked time. Seriously, if I had to sleep with Theon, I would definitely kill him
in his sleep. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes. Well, just I think the thing that she maybe wanted to do with that, besides the fact that there's a contractual obligation that HBO shows boobies at least every 1.5 episodes or something, was I think she wanted to kind of expose how weak and easily ruled he is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you imagine Robb Stark doing that? And it's not like he doesn't like women. Obviously, he likes women.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that he would be taken in by...
Well, no, and didn't she try that on Robb when they first captured her? Didn't she sort of, like, insinuate, let me go? Well, I feel like that was, like, a possibility that she would be like a sex slave.
I don't remember, and what I remember about her being captured is her begging for her life, and
that, yes,
and telling him, if you spare me, I am yours, and that was really profound to me, seeing what she did. Because I will say this, watching it, I didn't question that her angle, that she just wanted to be let go to go about her life. I'd kind of forgotten about that, and forgotten about the fact that the people above the wall are Northerners and have the same sort of bizarro code of honor that, Winterfell does.
Right.
But when it was obvious what she was doing, sneaking, Bran and Rickon out of the castle in order to save them from Theon and whatever his plans for them were, I was like, it just flashed me immediately back to that moment. And I was like, wait a minute. Theon was fucking there. Theon wanted to kill her. Robb stopped him. Mm-hmm. And she told Robb, if you save me, I am yours. And she fucking meant it. And Theon's a fucking idiot for not remembering that and thinking that maybe she might have meant that.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's definitely something that he should have remembered.
And it kind of just goes to the whole Theon's not actually, one of them. Because I think one of them would have understood that at least that was a possibility and not trusted her with anything. And he was like in there, like totally fast asleep, like a babe in a cradle.
I know, right? Like, why would you trust her? I mean, I'd be like, you're going to kill me. Like, yeah. Any good Winterfell girl would have tried.
Yes, exactly. And she's already, I mean, when he met her, she was, fighting with his spear, and she first asked him to be let me join you, I'll fight for you.
Yeah.
And yet I don't know, he seems to think, he has so little respect for women that, God, can a woman please kill him? Can a woman be the one? And someone besides his sister, because I think he knows she at least is a badass who, like, spanks men around with chains and her sword, but like a woman that he wouldn't suspect. Like,
I'm sorry, my brain just illustrated that.
Like Osha, or,
Osha and Asha together, they're spanking men with chains. And
yeah, so God forbid he run into Roz again. Maybe she'll do the honor for us.
That'll be an HBO show that'll do really well. Maybe Stars will pick that one up. You never know.
The Osha and Asha sex show.
Special guest.
With Dr. Roz.
Dr. Roz. Oh, wow.
We're on to something.
Yeah, yeah, HBO, call us. But yeah, and I loved that scene where she sneaks them out, because we got to see Shaggy Dog and Summer.
Finally, yes.
And we got to see all the wolves in this episode, which is great, because I never noticed them, or they're not in the episode. Like, I know the last episode Ghost was there, but I didn't fucking see him.
I didn't see him either.
So I get really excited, especially when I see Shaggy Dog, because Shaggy Dog and Rickon, brother. Love them. I really, 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 really want Rickon to ride Shaggy Dog.
Uh-huh.
I want him to just sit on his back and just, like, gallop into the sunset.
That would be amazing. I want that too.
Not dignified, but,
If
I had a dire wolf, I would definitely fucking try to ride it.
Especially if you're, like, 4 years old, you're little enough to actually ride it.
Yeah, right? You can totally do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the size of small ponies by now.
I know.
He's not that big, so.
And, like, they're not done growing, because it's only been, like, a year.
Yeah.
Like, they're still, like, little lanky baby direwolves.
Yep. They're gonna be some huge badass motherfuckers.
I can't wait till they're, like, the size of bears.
Right?
Loping.
So here's a direwolf question. Why have we not been hearing rumors of a direwolf ravaging the countryside that's actually Nymeria, because I'm sure she's out there somewhere, and it breaks my heart that Arya doesn't have her wolf, but how does a direwolf kind of like hide in the countryside and not
Yeah,
start
right?
rumors
Yeah.
of werewolves or whatever?
Yeah, in the books there are very, very, very few, like I want to say 2 offhanded mentions that there are more wolf attacks than usual.
But enough to at least acknowledge it.
Yeah. And you get the idea that maybe Nymeria it has created her own like mega pack that she is the boss of. But that I really couldn't tell you because I don't know. So, can't tell you what's going on.
Yeah. Don't say you don't know. Say you can't tell me because I can't tell you.
Okay, fine. I can't tell you because I can't tell you.
Exactly. So, consult your list. What else do we need to mention?
We talked about Sansa and Shay. Oh, we have to go back to Robb and Catelyn and Roose who brought a message. And can I just say that when Roose came up and said message from Winterfell, I know he was holding a little piece of paper, because that was the message from the Raven that Maester Luwin had sent out at the very beginning. But I imagined it as a tiny finger. Mostly because I know what the Boltons really do at home when no one is watching, and I just really, really wanted him to be like, message from Winterfell, it's this finger. I chewed on it a little, but it's still good.
Wow.
I love the Boltons. And the fact that he kind of casually mentioned his son, I was like, Ramsay! I got really, really excited because that means Ramsay Bolton is going to be on the show. And he is the best. He's the best. I mean, you want to talk about like sick, fucked up people? Like, Ramsay wins. Like, him pitted against all the scariest motherfuckers that we've seen so far in Westeros, no. Ramsay is scarier. Ramsay is like Batman of scary people.
Okay. So he beats Joffrey and the Hound and the Mountain all rolled into one.
Oh yeah. Oh, with his tiny little finger, his nice soft hands. There's more badassery in the leeches that fall from his body than there are in all of Joffrey and all his little minions. Yes. It's gonna be sick.
Well,
anyway,
I look forward to seeing him meet Theon then.
It wasn't a finger, but that's I really wanted it to be a finger. I just really wanted Roose to be like, message from Winterfell. And it's
a finger.
It's a finger.
It's Bran's finger. Kind of tells you everything. Well, honestly, if you send a finger, you send like the finger that the Lord would wear a signet ring on. Yeah, that's actually a pretty fucking strong message. So I think Bran should be fucking grateful that Theon didn't send that message.
Send a finger, right? Well, yeah. So Kat and Robb are talking. Robb is still putting the moves on Lady Tylisa or whatever her fake ass name is.
God, that was fun to watch Catelyn call bullshit on that one. She's like, I don't know this name or this house. Who are you again? And then she like turns that skank eye on Robb. She's like, Robb, this is not the woman I promised you to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she can kind of be like, I see, and I'm still confused as to whether or not Catelyn has never heard of it because it's foreign, or if she's never heard of it because Talisa is fucking lying about her name.
I think B.
You think B? Because I mean, it would make more sense for me personally for it to be B. But I don't know. Maybe they decided to bring in this random foreign girl.
The question then is, what the fuck is she doing there? Because she obviously is a lady, and I think maybe the point is more the social circles in the North and the Riverlands are not that big, and Catelyn is not so out of touch that she wouldn't have heard about some foreign lady either making an extended visit or having like moved into the family because maybe someone married her older sister or her mother or something like that.
Right.
So I think in that sense, Catelyn knows enough of who should be in that area of that class to say, no, this is either she is here for some fucked up reason and she shouldn't be here, or she's lying. And either way, A, son, be careful, and B, she's still not the one you're promised to, and you have to keep that promise. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's fun to me though that everybody's getting closer and closer together. You know, Catelyn has moved in with Robb, which they're somewhere in the Riverlands. Peter and Tywin and Arya are at Harrenhal. Everybody's starting to cluster into like 3 large groups. You know, they have everybody centered on, because that Stannis is marching on King's Landing, like he's on his way. So everybody's either at King's Landing or in the middle or beyond the wall. So it's more exciting that way because everybody gets so spread out that, like people, what's happening with Jaime? Is he just still sitting in the mud?
Yep, and growing a beard.
Growing a beard in the mud.
Yeah, which I saw that in the preview for next week, which I actually did watch for once.
Oh, you did? Because I didn't.
Well, it wasn't anything that you wouldn't see coming.
Yeah, they never show you what the hell's going on. Did they show you any scenes about Dany reacting to her dragons?
Yes, Ser Jorah comes in and she basically tells him, "Find my dragons."
And then she gives the Targaryen eye.
Yeah, and there might have been something about trust in there, and like basically she thinks Ser Jorah might have had something to do with this, and it's like, you find him and prove that I can trust you.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
But that could have been reading too much into a line that I half heard as well. So.
Well, that's really interesting. I hope maybe I hope that happens, because that's definitely more interesting than. Because of what happened in the last episode, where I think she feels a little violated by the truths that came out of Jorah's mouth.
Right, and then this is also a great callback to the shadiness of his character.
Yes.
I think, because I feel like Dany was acquainted with his history pretty early, and I can't imagine that she doesn't know why he left. And I think he's pretty honest about it. He's like, yeah, Ned Stark caught me slaving. Oops. Yeah. I'm an asshole.
But, is that something that Dany would have problems with? We don't really know her stance on slavery.
This is a good point.
At this moment.
This is a very good point. And
because her brother was like, who cares?
Yeah, and a lot of the rich men who have hosted them over the years absolutely didn't care.
Yes. At least it does not seem to be something that is looked down upon in the East.
Yes.
Which is where the Targaryens are from initially.
Before they
conquered Westeros, yes. Many generations ago.
So the Targaryens are basically like if Genghis Khan had not actually died en route, but actually conquered everything.
Yeah, basically, yeah, if he had dragons.
Yeah.
Which,
and blonde hair.
Thank God he did not have dragons, because we would probably still be in his empire.
Or we'd be, fighting our way out of it.
Maybe we'd be on Mars by now, because I bet you that the Khan Empire would have been all about a space program.
Dude, you know it. You know it. Wait, the vast uncharted prairie of space? Yeah, let's take that shit next.
Yeah, it needs to be filled!
You know what space needs? It needs more spears. Just saying.
Oh yeah, that's good. We covered, so Bran and Rickon have escaped. Robb is making eyes at an inappropriate girl. Jon is having eyes made at him by a redhead, which we know what redhead means. If Melisandre is any indication, it just means a lady who is.
Let's just say she's fiery both above and below.
Both ends.
Yes. Oh shit! You know what we forgot to talk about?
What?
The moment where we learned that Tywin was actually kind of an awesome dad.
Oh, when why do you think it's awesome to force your kid to learn to read 4 hours a day when he doesn't want to do it? I mean,
because
as a parent, it's awesome, but I think from Jaime's point of view, that sucked.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter what the kid actually thinks. It's basically saying, look, I feel responsible for my child, and if my tutors can't get it done, I'm going to take it upon myself to do it and to find a way to make him learn and make him understand what he needs to know. He's my son. He has to be able to do this. He can't function as the Lord of Lannister without being able to read, and I'm not going to let him be laughed at and be a doofus and be an ignoramus. I'm sure there's an element of, parental pride there, but also the fact that he was dedicated enough to personally take it in hand and not just pass the problem off to someone else. I mean, basically...
Well, I wonder, because maybe Jaime does think of the father fondly. Maybe he does feel mentored and taken in hand, but I wonder how Tyrion feels.
Well, Tyrion has expressed on... I forget if it's in the show, but at least in the book he expressed on more than one occasion in the first book that he hated his father.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. Tywin's comment was a little bit cryptic. He hated me for that for a long time, but that kind of implies that Jaime doesn't hate him for it anymore. And maybe now that he has become a man, has realized what his father actually did and where he was coming from. But I mean, look, I could be totally projecting.
No, I think it's true. He had one son that needed to be perfect because the other son was not perfect.
Yeah.
But then again, Tywin did allow Tyrion to act as the hand of the king while he is not there.
Yeah, so it's not like Tywin doesn't kind of believe in Tyrion. I think it's probably the sense that Tyrion has had to prove himself, but ultimately he has, and he has his dad's respect now.
Yeah.
So.
Or at least, he is a Lannister, right? He wasn't disowned or replaced.
Well, and we are kind of seeing that a recurring pattern of Tywin giving chances to his family and then being very disappointed in them. So, in fact, making Tyrion Hand of the King might not actually have been anything, but, well, it has to be one of my sons if I can't be there to do it myself, and Jaime's unavailable, so, okay, but kind of expecting him to fuck it up. I mean, I don't believe that, but it's possible that he thought that.
We know that Tyrion is smart, and there are very few actually smart people in Westeros. Like, Tywin is one of them, and it must be really hard to be fighting a battle against this guy who's kind of beating the shit out of you and killing all your men, and being surrounded by fucking idiots who can't even read or send their letters to the right people. That is just the saddest thing.
Well, that was just the best moment ever when he was basically like, hey, cupbearer, why don't you come sit on my war council because you've probably got better ideas than these assholes. And Arya's like, no problem.
Arya's probably like, yeah, I do actually.
She does. Oh, God.
She is kind of, well, I mean, whatever. I guess Arya's lies are adequate. It's kind of, I think her manners and the way that she looks people in the eye Tywin probably thinks she's lying, that she was probably like the daughter of a minor noble, at least, right? She's not a peasant. She's certainly not the daughter of a stonemason. Like, no fucking way. Like, no fucking way. Her accent gives her away, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, although Gendry didn't seem to pick up on it, even though he realized she was a female, he didn't pick up on the fact that she was a lady, so maybe not. Maybe she can cant like a common soldier.
That's the one thing that we missed. We didn't have any shirtless Gendry in this episode.
No Gendry at all, and only like one brief moment of Jock and Hagar.
But it was a sweet moment.
It was like, oh, little, you could see him thinking, oh, little bird, I will save you.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, the most compelling characters are kind of, like, the most bizarre. Like, Jock and Hagar, he speaks of himself in the third person, he's, like, a weirdo, and then the Hound is all burned and scary. Love it. Well, but, it's nice that we finally have Ygritte on the scene, because I love her. She's mouthy. We need more mouthy ladies.
Yeah, and yet another example of an interesting female character who's kind of bucking the expected societal norm. Well, it probably is expected of wildlings. I mean, certainly.
Yeah, she's a wildling woman. They are definitely their own type of.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny that the show is basically devolving into, everything except the stereotypical woman at this point. Like,
yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's hilarious too, especially when people are like, this show is sexist. It's only full of like naked women and women being oppressed and raped and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, are you watching the show? Because yes, it's set in a fantasy past that's based on like medieval Europe, but there is not one like stereotypical like birther woman in the whole show.
Yeah, maybe Gilly, maybe Sansa, but
no. I mean, because we know that Sansa is growing as a character. She's definitely more now than she was.
Well, but just in terms of how she starts, like what it is going in. Like there are characters that you meet that maybe, seem very kind of, very oppressed and like submissive to the rules of their society and their families and their cultures, but then as shit keeps happening, you're like, no, I'm not putting up with any more of this. And you kind of realize that by the time they're all, battle-hardened women of the age of, say, Catelyn or Brienne, they're, practically swinging swords around.
Right.
Or and literally, either way.
Yeah, and I that's definitely one of the major themes of the novel. Every character starts out one way and becomes something that you never expected. I mean, every single one of them, to the point where it's almost like watching like an M. Night Shyamalan movie where you're like, what's the secret? What's the thing? What's the trick gonna be? Every time I get a character in Game of Thrones, I'm always like, okay, you're fucking with me because I know that this is not who this person is because it never is.
So I'm guessing that Jon Snow ends up becoming a wildling and probably the king of the wildlings, and that's my guess. But just laugh and let it go.
All right.
Here's the thing about the way this dude writes his books, and I think we've talked about this off recording before. That most of what happens, it's not that it doesn't make sense when you see it, but it's tangential forces that just sort of come at a character and knock them sideways. And it's not that those forces are implausible. It's not that they don't happen. If you can see the whole chessboard and, after it hits them, you kind of can. You're like, oh yeah, that makes complete and perfect sense that, that they would encounter this or something like this could happen and this is how they react. But it's not the way most narratives progress. It's not the way most writers structure a story or progress the sort of logic of the story. And so in that sense, it is very unpredictable. And it's not that it's not unrealistic or that it feels like it's jumping the shark or false or anything. It's just the sort of knocks and hammer blows of life that you just can't ever predict or see coming, and you don't know where you're going to end up. And so I actually really enjoy that about this story, just because you don't see it coming, but you don't feel like it's inappropriate when it happens either.
Yeah, I think it definitely calls attention to the fact that, we live our lives very myopically, right? Like we don't see the big picture because we can't.
Right.
And he writes his novels from that super close up, point of view in which we get the bigger picture as we get more information, which is more realistic. It's not that the type of third person omnipotent narrative that we're used to in epic fantasy where we kind of sit above the map and watch everything happen.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. It is very much the solipsistic point of view of the world is only real as I interact with it. And so those characters don't see things coming and don't expect people to just cross their path and change their life. And then it happens and they have to deal with it and react to it then. But you don't see it coming.
Yeah, and that's why I always like to try to position everybody on the map because that's how I'm used to it. So I'm like, okay, well, here's where everybody is, and at least I know what has happened so far. Even if I don't really know exactly what is going to happen in the future, I can at least know that logically, if Stannis is going this way and Robb is going this way, then at some point, hopefully everybody meets in the middle because, as a reader and a watcher of a story, we watch the story because we want to see everything meet in the middle, right? We want everything to connect somehow. And, the books aren't finished yet, so a lot of threads still haven't come back. Things still haven't connected. And that's the satisfying part of unraveling a story, is knowing that at the very end, when you get to the end, that it's still connected to the beginning.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Cross my fingers.
Yeah. And hopefully we end on the battle of the 7 supernatural armies converging on one spot. And
I'm not saying shit. I'm not saying shit to you.
You don't have to. You just laugh.
Freaking riding into battle on the back of Shaggy Dog, swinging an axe above his head.
No, he's gonna have a hammer. Bam, 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 bam. Strike. He's got a hammer.
Sorry, I have a hammer. He's like Thor.
And we come full circle.
Yes. All right. Well, can't wait for next week then.
Yeah, me too. That wraps us up for this episode. Thanks for listening. Come back next week, and always remember to ask, more wine, sir?